With Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite fast approaching release, I've taken some time to look at the conversation surrounding the game. The vast majority of the criticism stemmed from the seeming lack of characters on the roster, fresh faces, nods to beloved and forgotten franchises cast aside by their former premier fighting game developer in favor of their perennial cash cows. Among the characters and series that have been long clamored for, by myself as well as many others, there exists the tale of a samurai. There have been numerous games to come onto the scene that take historical fiction and turn the content into an eminently entertaining time on the consoles for which they've been developed. The Musou games, Bladestorm, and most recently Neo from Koei Tecmo immediately spring to mind. However, Capcom has been taking their stab at historical fiction action games as well, with the Sengoku Basara series, and of course, Onimusha. While the first game in the series, Onimusha Warlords, could be described as Resident Evil with samurai, and the follow-up, Samurai's Destiny, introduced players to Magoichi, Fuma, Eke, and a Jubei Yagyu that looks strangely like action legend Sonny Chiba. It was Onimusha 3, Demon Siege, that really got its hooks into me as a gamer, and endeared me to this series. It's time once again to dive into the backlog, and see just what this game brings to the table. So polish your Oni gauntlets and sharpen your swords. For a game that came onto the scene in the early third of the PS2's life cycle, the rendering and overall visual design of this entry in the series is pretty solid. One can only imagine how Onimusha 3 would look when the textures and models are scaled up to any of the widely recognized HD resolutions. All that aside, considering that Onimusha 3 sees the return of the main hero from the first game, as well as antagonists from the first two, a lot of the enemies are recycled foes. So if you've had plenty of time to face off against the Genma archers or the brutes with the Tetsubo, then you've got a good understanding of what to expect. There certainly are a few new faces to deal with though, like those creepy slug-type monsters that split into smaller spawn when defeated by normal attacks. Ugh. There are also new floating lizard types that cast rings to either damage or freeze you in place. There are also, of course, new locations for you to traverse through your battle against the Genma. This is bolstered by the fact that the game takes place across two different time periods, Sengoku-era Japan and Paris, France, circa 2004. From a visual standpoint, one of the highlights of this game is the beautifully mocapped opening sequence directed by none other than Donnie Yen. Another big visual draw is the rendered likeness of returning star Takeshi Kaneshiro as he's teamed up with John Reno, the leading man in Leon the Professional. When it comes to the sounds of Onimusha, everything is sufficiently thematic for a supernatural fantasy game. Clashes and slashes have a certain weight to them. The Genma howl and screech with unsettling feral tones. Spoken dialogue can be a bit rough on the delivery, but is solid nonetheless.
Guildenstern is involved.
The definite high point of the sound design, though, is the soundtrack. In particular, the return of Samanosuke's theme from the first game in the series. To say this looks and sounds like an Onimusha game, well, that's a given. However, compared to the first, Onimusha 3 had gotten quite a bit of polish, and it certainly shows. It's not just in the audio-visual department that Onimusha 3 is a step up from its immediate predecessors. The gameplay has been considerably refined and even expanded on for this iteration. While movement is still on the tanky side, combat has seen some improvements that make the action feel a lot more fluid once you pick up the controller. Even after going for years without playing it, I was able to quickly adjust to the movement, targeting, and pacing of attacks. Acquiring the new slate of Oni weaponry was just as rewarding as it was in the first two games. Relearning various strategies in the Oni training was a joy, and unique abilities were powerful, yet incredibly well balanced. This is only enhanced by the fact that there are two fully playable heroes this time around. Samanosuke is familiar territory for fans of the series that have stuck with it since Warlords. The new Oni weapons he can acquire bring new elemental attacks to the battle. The twin blades he gets, called Tenso, are light-based, while Kuga is a wind-themed Nodachi. Bringing up the rear is the powerful earth-based battle axe Chigo. For long range, you get various elemental arrows, and for maximized melee damage, there's the 10-point slash, a unique 10-strike combo that requires knowing the rhythm of your current weapon's unique attack string. Jacques, the new Oni warrior to join the fight after being formed in the past, is granted the Oni whip to go with his gauntlet. With Jacques, players are greeted to the classic slate of elemental weaponry of fire, lightning, and ice from the original game. Enja is the fire-based snake sword, while Raisen brings the thunder in the form of a 3-section spear. The chilling frost comes from Kyosai, a straight-up spiked ball and chain. What Jacques also brings to the battle as a result is a unique long-range game. He can use his flexible and extendable weaponry to tag flying enemies that require Samanosuke to load up on arrows before engaging. Also, Jacques can use his weapons to grapple enemies, objects, and even special Oni fireflies to reach high places. Among the familiar mechanics of soul absorption and using the protective mirrors to save and upgrade, the Dark Realm portals that take you to bonus challenge areas, and the trick puzzle boxes littered throughout the game, the newest change comes in the form of Akko, the Tengu spirit that accompanies you along your adventure. On the surface, Akko seems like a nice little gopher for items that drop during battle, but what really makes her shine is the different colored vests, or haori, that you can find and equip for her. Each comes with its own passive buffs that apply to your character, like being able to automatically recover health while standing still, or changing up the type of souls you can absorb from your enemies. From a control standpoint, Onimusha 3 is one of those sequels where, even though the change from the previous game isn't drastic in the quantitative sense, the qualitative leap from Samurai's Destiny to Demon Siege is exceedingly and immediately noticeable. It's that time again, neighborhood. Time to ask the question. Does this game have what it takes to withstand the tests of time and also competition? Well, in order to do that, we need to find its closest modern-day competitor, and that search is easy enough. I even mentioned it earlier. That would be Koei Tecmo's newest historical fiction offering, Nioh. Classic tank controls notwithstanding, the combat in Onimusha 3 is much like Nioh in that it is grueling, yet fair. To get the most out of your chosen hero, whether it be Will Adams, Samanosuke, or Jacques, you need to have a keen sense of your surroundings and make use of all of your available skills. Facing off against fantastical, supernatural creatures and fictionalized avatars of famous historical figures is a hallmark of both Nioh and the Onimusha series. While the former focuses on a hero foreign to Japanese shores, Onimusha takes a more immediate viewpoint with Hidemitsu Samanosuke Akechi. The similarities between the two are readily apparent. The question remains though, can Onimusha compete? Let's be honest, the game holds up really well graphically. Perhaps a redubbing of the spoken dialogue in the game and scaling up, if not remaking, the visuals could really give this game a chance to shine even brighter in the current gaming market. Only time will tell if Capcom will even truly acknowledge this franchise once more. As far as sequels go, Onimusha 3 Demon Siege is a textbook example of how to bring back the old and inject new life into its franchise. Fans of the classic Samanosuke from the first game are treated to having him as an accompanying hero, while those who want to see the samurai evolve will have access to him directly. The inclusion of Jacques was a brilliant move, even though during the initial development, the game was set to include New York as opposed to Paris. If this game were to make a resurgence today, without significant improvements to the gameplay, it could very well be written off as a Nioh clone, and yet another attempt by Capcom to muscle in on territory previously occupied by Koei Tecmo, a la Capcom's Sengoku Basara series, compared to Sengoku Musou. Does Onimusha 3 pass the test of time? With flying colors. Can it pass the test of competition? That would be more of a struggle, but it's certain that the game could do pretty well in today's market. I'd love to see Onimusha make a comeback, as the franchise has some amazing characters and the stories among the different protagonists are expertly woven together. Here's to hoping that we haven't seen the last of Samanosuke Akechi. On that note, stay good, neighborhood.
Kick his ass.
Farewell, distant friends.